Discover the miraculous revelations in Leviticus, 7 transforming truths to inspire your faith journey. In the 3rd year of Jehoiakim, the Israelites found themselves camped at the foot of a mighty mountain, enveloped in a cloud of divine presence. There, Moses, chosen by God, stood trembling yet resolute, ready to receive the covenant that would define their identity as his people. The air crackled with energy as thunder roared from the heights of Mount Sinai, where flames danced with the glory of the Almighty. Below, the former slaves, their faith oscillating like the flickering flames, gathered in anxious anticipation, wondering if their liberator still walked among them. As Moses gazed up, the mountain blazed as if it were a furnace, and the sound of a trumpet trembled the earth beneath their feet. Exodus 19 verses 18-19. The weight of the moment pressed upon his heart. He ascended into the cloud, receiving God's instruction, the 10 Commandments, a divine carving of truth meant to guide them in their uncertain wilderness journey. Each command would be a beacon guiding them from slavery into the light of holiness. The Israelites, weary from their struggles, onward into the promise of land, found themselves at a crossroads. Would they believe in the God who had delivered them from Egypt? Before we continue with this incredible biblical account, I want to make sure you don't miss any of these powerful scripture stories. Click the bell icon and select all notifications. These biblical narratives have transformed countless lives throughout history. If God's word through this story is blessing you, please like and share with someone who needs to hear about God's faithfulness today. Tell me in the comments, which biblical story has most impacted your faith journey? I'm always amazed how God's word speaks to hearts across generations. Now let's continue with what the Lord did next. Returning from the peak, Moses bore not only the stone tablets but also the essence of the covenant, the holy bond that would secure the Israelites as God's set-apart people. He stood before them, eyes radiant with divine truth, and explained the significance of offerings a burnt sacrifice, pleasing to the Lord. It was a crucial instruction, how to restore the bond with the Creator who led them through the chaos of the wilderness. Leviticus 1 verses 1-9. This divine ritual went beyond mere tradition. It was an act of love, a call to draw nearer to Him. As they embraced these commandments, Moses revealed the critical concept of holiness, teaching about dietary laws and cleanliness, challenges that would test their fidelity against familiar habits from their past. The gale of doubt whipped through the camp. Some would lean into the law with open arms, while others would resist. The divide echoed their internal battles. Were they ready to abandon the shadows of Egypt and step into the light of God's transformative promise? Yet, in this testing, God's gifts unfolded. Through offerings, God extended the chance for atonement. While sacrifices rose like incense, they witnessed miraculous fire from heaven consume the offering, a tangible sign of His acceptance, cementing the covenant in sacred flames. Leviticus 9 verses 22-24. Yet the struggle continued. As they navigated the complex tapestry of their faith, sin beckoned from within and without, ensnaring some while spurring others to deeper devotion. As Moses narrated the richness of God's instruction, the ground trembled in reverence. Would the Israelites choose to pursue holiness, rooted in the truth of the one who rescued them? The promise of a land flowing with milk and honey lay ahead, yet the journey demanded a commitment to walk in faith, grounded in obedience to the God who beckoned from the mountain. As shadows loomed and doubt settled like mist over the camp, a voice cried out, proclaiming divine love and law. The sacred tension hung palpably in the air, their willingness to accept God's call echoed in that stillness. Would they trust in His unseen ways and commit to the path laid out before them? The flickering flame of faith danced within each heart, beckoning them toward the grace of the one who promised to be with them for all generations. As the echoes of Moses' words faded into the stillness of the encampment, the Israelites stood transfixed, their hearts wrestling between the call of obedience and the fear of the unknown. The shadow of the mountain, draped in divine cloud, loomed above them, a constant reminder of God's holiness and the weight of the covenant they were to uphold. With fervor and faith, Moses began to unfold the laws that would guide their lives, sharing the nuances of sacrifice and atonement, thus laying a foundation for their community. These offerings, he proclaimed, are not mere acts of duty, they symbolize the profound relationship we hold with our God. They are the bridge over which His mercy flows. He recounted the details of grain offerings and peace offerings, each a testament to their gratitude and their need for divine reconciliation. Leviticus 2-3. But as his voice rose, the murmurs of discontent stirred in the crowd. Some among them gazed longingly toward the flesh pots of Egypt, memories of familiarity mingling with the taste of freedom. "What shall we eat?" A voice pierced the quiet, reminding all of the trials they had faced. The ache of hunger gnawed at their resolve. Moses, discerning the struggle among his people, turned his gaze upward once more, beseeching God for wisdom. And from the depths of that divine cloud, words of assurance enveloped him, a promise that would soothe their weary souls. "I will provide for you," the voice of the Lord echoed, "as I did for your forefathers. You shall not dwell in hunger, for I am your sustenance." The skies darkened briefly, and the air was filled with the scent of dew. Manna descended, a miraculous provision from heaven. Exodus 16 verse 4. The sight left the people awestruck. They collected the white flakes which tasted of honey as commanded. With every bite, they were reminded of his faithfulness, a tangible sign that he would sustain them as they journeyed toward the promised land. Yet underneath these miracles, something more sinister began to stir. The enticement of rebellion whispered softly in the hearts of those who disbelieved. They yearned for the certainty of Egyptian chains, enmeshed in comforts that came from rebellion against God's design. Their grumbling sowed discord in the camp, and fear began to threaten the fragile unity that Moses sought to cultivate. As twilight painted the sky in hues of rebellion, Moses gathered the elders, imploring them to strengthen resolve among the tribes. "Hear me, O you people. The Lord your God has chosen you to be his treasured possession. You stand at the cusp of greatness. Forsake not his ways, lest you forfeit the inheritance promised to our fathers." Deuteronomy 14 verse 2. A murmur rose in response, stealing their collective heart. Circumstances may have shaken their foundation, yet the endearing spirit of faith flickered. With renewed courage and hearts stirred by divine intervention, they offered their voices in unison, committing to God's path. As night fell over the encampment, they gathered together, recounting the mighty works of God amidst flickering campfires, building the faith of the younger generations. In their hearts, the promise stirred: they would be a holy nation, set apart for divine purpose. Exodus 19 verse 6. Yet, unbeknownst to them, the true test lay ahead, a trial that would shake their faith to its very core and unveil a deeper layer of God's sovereign plan. As the stars twinkled above, an ominous silence began to blanket the camp, hinting at challenges that would soon arise, testing their fidelity and revealing the depths of God's glorious intention. Would they withstand the trials ahead and remain faithful? Only time would unveil the miraculous tapestry of God's sovereign will unfolding before them. As dawn broke over the encampment, the Israelites stirred from their slumber, the aroma of fresh manna filling the air. The morning light glistened upon the dew-kissed ground, a reminder of God's provision. Yet, beneath this canvas of divine grace, unseen undercurrents of discontent persisted among a growing number of voices, each whispering dissent against the burdensome lessons of faith. Moses, with countenance lifted toward the heavens, once again sought the face of the Lord. His spirit was heavy with the weight of his people's disbelief. "O Lord," he cried, his heart laid bare, "how long will these people resist your ways? They have known the signs and wonders, yet still they falter." And in that moment, the Spirit of the Lord surged within him, commanding his attention. "Gather the people," the Lord instructed, "and I shall demonstrate once more my power and sovereignty." With urgency, Moses called upon the elders and leaders of each tribe, declaring the command of God. "Assembly of Israel, come forth. The Lord Almighty purposed in his heart to reveal a magnificent sign." And they gathered, eyes wide with anticipation and trepidation. The elders and the young alike stood before Moses, their hearts a mixture of hope and fear. "Behold," he proclaimed, "this day shall God perform wonders in your sight." In obedience, Moses stretched forth his rod as the Lord instructed. The ground trembled, and a great wind swept through the camp. The air thickened, charged with an electric expectancy, and from the heavens, a mighty voice thundered, affirming his covenant. "I am the Lord your God, walk before me and be blameless." Genesis 17 verse 1. Suddenly, the people fell to their faces in reverent fear. The Spirit of the Lord enveloped them, and there, upon the mount, flames flickered like living fire. Moses received divine commandments, a sacred charter engraved upon tablets of stone. "These are the statutes that shall govern you," he declared, "instructing you on how to live as my holy nation." Yet still, the shadows of discontent lingered. The hearts of some began to murmur, voices aching to grasp the familiar comforts left behind in Egypt. "What of this law?" they mused darkly. "Can we not simply return to what we know?" A rebellion whispered, sowing seeds of doubt among the tribes. Moses, with fervent resolve, ascended the mountain again, the tablets secure beneath his mantle. "Lord God Almighty," he prayed, "do not forsake these people in their wavering. Reveal your mercy amidst their rebellion." And the Lord responded, speaking tenderly yet powerfully, "Moses, I will shine forth my glory among them. I grant you an opportunity yet again, for I seek to draw them near. I shall reveal my name, and through this, they shall know me and trust my ways." In that moment, with open hearts and earnest seeking, the people began to sense the shifting tide. Light filtered through the clouds, illuminating the path before them, reminiscent of the parting of the Red Sea. A wave of unity surged amongst the tribes, as the stories of their shared past interwove with the fiery hope of the present. "We are a people set apart," they proclaimed, voices echoing in the vastness of the desert. But even as resolve sparked among the faithful, a deeper trial awaited, a challenge that would test the very essence of their belief and reshape the course of their identity. As they prepared to descend the mountain, a tumult rose on the horizon. The promise of God shimmered within reach, yet the path ahead twisted deeper into uncertainty. What would become of them, and how would their God lead them into the fullness of his covenant? But behold, the greatest lesson was yet to come, and amid their journey, a secret was veiled. The true depths of God's sovereign plan were unfolding, a revelation that would reshape history, drawing them unto the ultimate sacrifice that would reveal the heart of the Almighty. What might they discover about the one who calls them his own? As the dawn broke anew over the encampment, the people stirred, hearts still heavy with uncertainty despite the recent signs. Moses, filled with the Spirit of the Lord, descended from the mountain, the sacred tablets held close to his heart. The breath of the Almighty had renewed his strength, yet his soul was intertwined with the burdens of his fellow Israelites. "Children of Israel," he proclaimed with fervor, his voice echoing across the sands, "the Lord has bestowed upon us his commandments, let us hold them close to our hearts." The assembly quieted, some weeping, others trembling with anticipation. "These laws are not mere burdens but anchors for our souls, guiding us in holiness." Yet, amidst the crowd, the dissenters stirred. "What is this law?" they whispered amongst themselves, frustration brewing like a storm. "Is our freedom now shackled by strict commandments? Have we not tasted again the bitterness of oppression?" Their collective murmuring threatened to unravel the threads of faith that bound them together. Moses, sensing the rising tide of discontent, climbed once more the slopes of the mountain, imploring the Lord, "O sovereign God, how shall I address this rebellious heart? Will you not grant us wisdom to overcome the depths of despair?" The Lord met him there in the cloud, a brilliant light shining forth. "Fear not, Moses," the voice of the Lord thundered, rich and deep, "reveal to them my character through their obedience. For it is in following my ways that they will find true freedom." Moses returned to the people, the radiant glory of the Lord reflecting in his face. "Hear now, O Israel. The Lord our God is gracious, and he desires not your destruction but your restoration. Embrace his commandments, for in them lies the path to life abundantly." As he spoke, a shift occurred among the tribes. The keen-minded and inspired responded, "We will follow the Lord." Yet, the murmurers held their ground. Their desires for the comforts of Egypt, the abundance they once knew, gripped their hearts with an unyielding force. Among them, a leader named Korah rose, inflamed with ambition and pride. "Why do we bow so low before Moses?" he questioned, his charisma captivating. "We are all holy, we all have access to God's presence. Let us rise against his authority." In the hearts of the discontented, Korah's voice ignited a rebellion, a challenge that would cast a shadow on the very covenant the Lord had established. Moses fell to his knees in prayer, crushed by the weight of betrayal and doubt. "Lord, what shall become of your people in division?" he cried, Tears falling like rain upon the parched earth, the Lord answered him with divine clarity, "Tomorrow, I shall show them my chosen servant. Let there be a confirmation of my call upon you. Gather Korah and his followers, and I shall test them before all Israel." The dawn of a new day brought a resolved Moses before the assembly, standing firm. "Bring forth your censers," he declared, confidence mingled with trepidation. "Let the Lord choose between his servants." Korah, with all who followed him, presented their censers amidst a gathering storm of tension. The air thickened around them, anticipation heavy as the people awaited the judgment of the Almighty. But what would unfold before their eyes would not only reveal God's chosen but also lay bare the depths of human rebellion. The promise of God shimmered, yet the consequences of defiance loomed. For in this moment, the hearts of Israel would be tested, and the sovereign plan of God would emerge resplendently amidst the chaos, unraveling the way to redemption that even they could not foresee. Moses stood at the forefront, his heart pounding as the gathered Israelites formed a sea of questioning faces. A hush enveloped them, the weight of the moment palpable as dawn light filtered through the dusty air. "O Israel, the presence of the Lord is about to make his will known," he cried, the urgency in his voice echoing against the rocky terrain. Korah, emboldened by the murmurs of insurrection, brandished his censer, surrounded by the dissenters who thirsted for validation of their doubts. "We are all chosen, are we not? Why must we follow this man alone?" he proclaimed, his words dripping with rebellion. "Where is the evidence of his authority?" With a steady gaze, Moses lifted his eyes to the heavens. "The Lord will vindicate his chosen one. Let each of you bring your censers near the altar of God." The tension swelled as the people felt the gravity of their impending challenge against the divine mandate. As the flickering flames of the censers danced in the vibrant morning light, the Lord's voice broke through the air once more. "Gather away from the tents of these men, and touch nothing that belongs to them, lest you be consumed in their sin." The earth trembled softly beneath their feet, an echo of God's authority resonating through the hearts of those who still held faith. Moses still stood firm, speaking contrary to the allegations rising like smoke from the censers. "Herein lies the proof of the Most High. If these men die a common death, then the Lord has not sent me. But if the Lord creates something new, and the ground opens its mouth and swallows them whole, you will know the depth of their rebellion." As he finished, deathly silence filled the space, hearts raced in fear. Then came the shuddering rumble of the earth. With a divine roar, the ground split asunder beneath the feet of Korah and his loyal followers. From the void, a cry of horror erupted, followed by the sudden and dramatic descent into the depths, a testament to the Lord's judgment. The people gasped collectively, utter disbelief overwhelming the assembly. Some fell to the ground, faces pale, while others instinctively stumbled backwards, their faith either reaffirmed or shattered in this ether of divine spectacle. Moses, witnessing the terrible fate of the wicked, raised his hands imploringly to God. "O Lord, are your people to perish also through one man's rebellion?" And the Lord answered him, "Tell the people of Israel to gather the censers of those who sinned against me, and make them into a covering for the altar, for they have become holy." Thus, the Israelites collected the bronze, their hands trembling with both reverence and fear, transforming the ashes of rebellion into a sacred reminder of divine judgment and mercy. The altar was adorned, a new sign of God's covenant and mercy, creating a lasting witness of his power among them. As the echoes of divine authority resonated through the camp, Moses spoke again, "This day, learn that the Lord alone is holy, to follow him counts not only for life but for eternity." Yet, amidst the awe, unconfessed hearts still pulsed with doubt, waiting for the next opportunity to challenge the hand of God. They were unaware of the greater unfolding of his plan. For as God's sovereignty unfolded before their eyes, they remained blind to the ultimate revelation yet to come, a mystery that would reshape their understanding of the heavens and earth. Would they finally grasp the marvel of his mercy, or would they plunge again into defiance? The answer lingered in the silent expanse, as divine suspense thickened like the gathering clouds, a testament to the unconfined power of the Almighty. And it came to pass, after the ground had closed upon the insurrectionists, that the congregation of Israel remained in a state of fear and trembling, their hearts burdened by the severity of the Lord's judgment. They whispered among themselves, recalling the words of Moses, their leader who had been appointed by the Almighty. Has the Lord spoken definitively in our presence? What shall we do? Some murmured, whilst others knelt in prayer, seeking the countenance of the Lord. Then the Lord spoke again to Moses, saying, "You shall command the people of Israel to bring forth their rods, each leader from every tribe a total of 12 rods. And upon each rod, write the name of its tribe." Moses relayed the command, and the leaders of the tribes, trembling yet obedient, gathered their staffs. Each rod was inscribed, and they set them before the tabernacle of the covenant. "And it shall come to pass," the Lord proclaimed, "that the rod of the man whom I choose shall sprout, and thus shall I make an end of their grumblings against you." As the sun began to set behind the encampment, casting a golden hue over the land, the 12 rods lay silently in the presence of the Lord. During the night, a profound stillness filled the air, as if creation itself held its breath, awaiting the unfolding of God as purposed at in the light of dawn. Moses returned to the tabernacle. He approached the rods with great anticipation, recalling the divine promises spoken in the past, invoking the sovereign will of God. Upon lifting the cover of the tabernacle, he could hardly believe his eyes. One rod alone had blossomed and burgeoned forth with blossoms, producing almonds, vibrant and fresh, a true miracle of God's affirmation. "Behold," he declared to the gathered assembly, "this is the rod of Aaron, the priest whom the Lord has chosen." The people marveled, and there was no longer room for doubt. The Lord had indeed chosen his servant, setting apart Aaron as the high priest forever, the lineage which would carry forth the priestly duties into the generations beyond. Yet in the midst of their wonder, the hearts of the stubborn still lingered, questioning the path laid before them. The echoes of rebellion resurfaced, cloaked in whispered uncertainty, and many began to wonder if they too could sway the will of the Almighty. Moses sensed the stirring doubt and called out, "O Israel! How long will you harden your hearts against the Lord? He has brought us out of bondage, that we may serve him in spirit and truth. Cast away your doubt and submit to his perfect will, for he is a God of covenant and promise." With growing resolve, the congregation gathered, surrounding Aaron's rod with both reverence and humility, recognizing the hand of God that had stilled their doubts. Yet some still clung to their grievances, a remnant of ungratefulness dormant in their spirits. Amidst this turmoil, the Lord's voice descended again, shaking the earth. "Those who remain obstinate shall know my hand yet again," he warned, "for I will not leave unpunished the hearts that refuse to recognize my plan. Each one shall stand before me, that which is hidden shall be revealed." Thus, divine tension filled the air, as the narrative of the Israelites continued, a living testament to their pilgrimage toward the promised land, outlined by the sovereign hand of the Almighty. The drama unfolded as the faithful prayed for survival, while others secretly pondered their rebellion. The greater plan of the Lord was slowly gathering steam, as hope and despair intertwined among the wandering tribe, and within the veil of uncertainty lay the promise yet to be fulfilled. And so, the question remained, what would reveal itself through the mists of doubt, and how would God shape the very essence of their faith in the days to come? For the truth behind his sovereign design was yet a secret waiting to be uncovered, even amid the shadows of their strife. And it came to pass, after the miraculous confirmation of Aaron's priesthood, that the hearts of the people were still restless. The fear of the Lord gripped them, yet amidst the fear, a yearning for clarity emerged. They gathered near the tabernacle, seeking counsel and inspiration, their anticipation tangible in the twilight. Moses stood before them, his face radiant with the glory of the Lord. "Hear me, O Israel!" he proclaimed, his voice a clarion call, "for the Lord has not only chosen Aaron, but he has also commanded that we establish holiness among ourselves. These are the statutes by which you shall live." As Moses spoke, he reminded the people of the ordinances given on Sinai, revealing the sacred responsibilities that the Almighty required of them. "You shall be holy, for the Lord your God is holy," he continued, reciting the words given to him that the people might know how to walk in righteousness. "In your camps, conduct yourselves in truth and justice, for the Lord dwells among you." Yet still, murmurs arose among the congregation. Some began to question the need for further regulations, seeing them as burdensome rather than as the means to foster a deeper relationship with the divine. "Why must we adhere to these rules?" they reasoned within themselves. "Are we not already chosen?" In that moment of doubt, the Lord spoke to Moses again, saying, "You shall teach them the significance of sacrifice and atonement, for without the shedding of blood, there is no remissions of sin." And so the precepts concerning the offerings were laid bare before the people, offerings of grain, a young bull, and the sin offering, that they might understand their standing before God and the profound grace bestowed upon them. Moses explained, "When a sacrifice is made in faith, it is a fragrant aroma to the Lord. It shall be acceptable on your behalf, cleansing your hearts, and restoring the covenant relationship." As he spoke, the hearts of many began to soften, understanding the depth of the provisions made for them. The fragility of their humanity was met with divine mercy. The assembly stood in silence, absorbing the sacred weight of the message. Their spirits stirred, and a chorus of agreement arose, "We shall obey the commandments of the Lord, for we desire his favor." They realized that within the constraints of divine law lay the very path to freedom and communion with God, yet, amongst the throng, there remained a hardened spirit. Korah, who had formerly stirred dissent, now covertly rallied a small faction against Moses. "Why must we rely on Aaron's lineage? Why can we not approach the Lord ourselves?" They questioned, feeding upon his rebellion like a flame to dry grass, and the Lord, knowing their hearts, instructed Moses, "Gather all the leaders and reveal to them the consequences of their unwillingness to submit. Let them understand the peril of their pride." As Moses gathered the leaders in a solemn assembly, the air crackled with divine intensity. "Let those who oppose rise with their censers before the Lord," he proclaimed. "For the Almighty shall show forth his glory today." The people gasped as they understood the stakes of their choice. Both the faithful and the rebellious stood poised, charged with the weight of their decisions, knowing that God's judgment would manifest in their very presence. Thus, the tension escalated, the air thick with anticipation of divine action. The stage was set for the revelation of God's power, an excellent unfolding of his sovereign design beyond what they had comprehended. For within the heart of this tumult lay a greater mystery. What did the Lord intend to reveal through these trials, and how would he manifest his eternal purpose through both obedience and rebellion? The answer remained shrouded yet in the divine plan, waiting to unveil the depths of his grace and sovereignty. And it came to pass, as the tribes waited in hushed expectation, the appointed day dawned. The sun rose like a golden banner over the camp, illuminating the faces of the gathered people, casting long shadows behind them. The Lord spoke once more to Moses, saying, "Gather the children of Israel before the tent of meeting, for today, I shall reveal my righteousness." Moses, understanding the weight of this command, stood among the multitude and raised his voice like the thunder that had enveloped Sinai. "Unless you feel the touch of the Lord's holiness, you cannot stand before him," he declared, directing their gaze towards the cloud that now covered the tabernacle. The atmosphere was thick with reverence and dread, for they knew something momentous was to occur. Korah and his company, emboldened by their rebellion, intermingled amongst the faithful, their censers of fire blasphemously lifted high, questioning with voices dripping with disdain, "Is it not enough that all the congregation is holy? For all of us seek the Lord, do we not?" But the countenance of Moses remained steadfast. He turned his heart to the Lord in prayer, and God spoke to him, "Separate yourselves from this assembly, that I may consume them in a moment." Fear swept over the faithful, but a solemn awe held them as they understood the gravity of their choice. Moses quickly made his way to the center of the assembly, urging the people, "Turn away from the tents of these wicked men, do not partake in their sin." The people backed away, creating a wide expanse, their hearts pounding in their chests as the very ground underneath quivered, sensing the impending judgment. As the congregation moved, the ground beneath Korah and the others opened wide, and they were engulfed, swallowed by the earth itself as a grave. A cry of horror erupted from the assembly as they beheld the swift and terrible judgment of God. The flames of the Lord descended from the altar, consuming the unauthorized offerings they had attempted to bring. And there was utter silence. The people stood in awe, their hearts grasping the profound truth of the Lord's intensity. It was then that God instructed Moses again, saying, "Inform them that their very rod shall testify of my chosen. Present them before the tabernacle, and I shall show whom I have chosen to be my priest." Moses took the rods of each tribe, inscribing the name of Aaron upon the rod of Levi, and he placed them in the presence of the Lord. The next morning, the cry of astonishment filled the camp, for Aaron's rod had blossomed, bearing almonds, as a sign of divine acceptance. The budding of the rod was proof to the people that Yahweh intended to establish a perpetual priesthood through Aaron. Moses returned to the assembly, brandishing the miraculous sign aloft. "Behold, the Lord has confirmed his covenant," he shouted, "let no more rebellion emerge in our midst, for the holiness of God is not a trifling matter." As the people took in this devout revelation, a collective fear mingled with relief washed over them. They recognized their standing before the Almighty who, in his mercy, provided a way to approach him through the priesthood. But amidst those like Korah who fell, the hearts of the faithful were lifted by the promise of continued communion with the Lord. Their obedience would ensure the favor of God upon their journey. Thus, the people learned that God's power is not to be taken lightly, and his magnificent sovereignty would weave a tapestry of grace and truth through the heart of Israel. Yet, hidden within these wondrous acts lay an even deeper mystery. What other marvels of God's plan awaited them as they journeyed towards the promised land? The unfolding of his purpose was not merely concurrent with their obedience, but transcended time itself, ready to reveal to them the deliverance that would shake the very foundation of all nations. And it came to pass that the people, having seen the sign of Aaron's rod and the swift judgment of Korah, gathered with renewed reverence. The fear of the Lord poured upon them, and they knew they stood in the presence of a holy God. Their hearts swelled with awe, and whispers of fear reverberated through the camp, as the Lord commanded further precepts and laws to be conveyed through his servant Moses. "Speak to the children of Israel," the Lord instructed, "and let them know how to approach me and how to remain steadfast in my commandments." Thus, Moses ascended the mountain once more, receiving divine instruction as the earth trembled beneath him, enveloped in the consuming fire of the Lord's glory. When he returned, the people waited expectantly, their eyes fixed upon his face, shining with the reflection of God's holiness. "Behold," Moses proclaimed, "Yahweh desires a sanctuary, that he may dwell among his people. Therefore, let your hearts be set on obedience, for in your faithfulness lies the key to my presence." He detailed the offerings that were pleasing to the Lord: burnt offerings, grain offerings, peace offerings, each a covenant of love and dedication. He urged them, "Present these offerings as a sweet aroma unto the Lord, for through these, you shall experience a communion deeper than the surface." Yet, murmurs rose within the assembly. Some questioned, led by those whose hearts were still touched with the rebellion of Korah. What merit lies in the offerings? They spat, "Is it not our hearts that must be holy?" Their voices hardened the crowd, tempting many toward disobedience, but Moses, filled with the Spirit of the Almighty, silenced them with the weighty truth: "Your hearts shall bear fruit when nourished by obedience." Is it not through sacrifice that we behold the grace of God? His words pierced through the rebellious spirit, laying bare the divine truth. Obedience was not an obligation but an act of love that drew them near to the heart of God. As the people listened intently, the air shifted. A cloud manifested above the tabernacle, and the glory of the Lord filled the dwelling place. A thunderous voice resounded, "This is your God, serve him with all your hearts and bring about the righteousness that I desire." And so, they fell on their faces, recognizing the weightiness of his presence. Days turned into weeks, and the people learned to bring forth their offerings with gratitude. They approached the tabernacle with hearts aligned to the will of God, igniting a vibrant community of faith among them. The sound of praise and the scent of sacrifices filled the air, uniting them in purpose. Yet, amidst the growing faith, the Lord spoke once more to Moses, infusing him with deeper insight, saying, "Even as I establish my covenant, know that I foresee a greater sacrament. This shall not end with you, for the heart of sacrifice must evolve into the essence of love embodied." Moses, puzzled yet deeply reverent, understood that the fullness of the Lord's plan was yet to unfold. There was something wondrous hidden within the divine counsel. His heart beat in time with the eternal narrative woven by the hands of the Almighty, and as the people stood, dominated by the glory of God, hearts attuned to his voice, they felt the weight of divine revelation nearing completion. For the promise loomed greater still, as the path of deliverance would ripple beyond their immediate understanding and reach into the annals of time. What other profound truths lay hidden in the tapestry of God's holy plan? What sacred transformations awaited them, designed to illuminate the steps to their ultimate redemption? The unfolding of events would soon grasp the essence of sacrifice beyond mere offerings, revealing a deliverance that would echo through the ages, and lead all nations back to the heart of God. As the cycle of time continued through the wilderness, the Israelites, shaped by their encounters with God, marched onward, determined to embrace the covenant that had become their identity. With Moses as their guide, they followed the visual pillar of cloud by day and the radiant fire by night, their hearts stirred by faith, yet burdened by the shadows of doubt that clung to some among them. One fateful morning, Moses called a solemn assembly, gravitas in his voice. "Gather, O Israel! For the Lord our God has issued a command, and I stand before you as your mediator. We are called to rise as a holy nation, we must commit to this covenant, and lift our eyes toward the promised land." With hearts aligned, those who believed responded, "We will honor the Lord and his statutes. We shall walk in his ways." The unison echo of their resolve resonated throughout the camp, a powerful testament forged from shared trials and victories. Thus, the people began to establish practices of worship, uniting in sacrifice and celebration, each moment encapsulated with the meaning of their deliverance. They built a tabernacle, the dwelling place of the divine, where fragrant offerings and joyous praise floated like sweet incense, a sacred space filled with his presence. Yet, beneath the surface, the tendencies of rebellion lingered in some. Korah's remnants, inflamed by pride and resentment, continued their murmurs, longing for the fleeting comforts of another era. But God, in his foreknowledge, prepared a way to address the heart of discontent. "O Moses, the Lord spoke in the stillness of night, through your leadership, I shall reveal my purpose, draw the people unto me, that they may be a reflection of my holiness, a living testament to the transforming power of grace." On the next morning, Moses called forth the scattered tribes, imploring them to listen for the gentle whispers of God's truth, lest they fall once more into the spiral of rebellion. "Let us not forget, my people, the lessons learned, to draw near to God is to embrace his holiness. The same ground that opened its mouth to swallow dissent will stand firm under the weight of faith." The assembly trembled at the memory of rebellion's toll, yet hope flickered alive in the hearts of the faithful. "We shall keep the commandments of the Lord," they declared. And with that fervent cry, they renewed their covenant commitment, pledging to uphold his statutes. Days turned into weeks, and the Israelites grew ever closer in community. Celebrations marked their devotion, the sound of laughter and humility resounding as they honored the feasts established by the Lord. The rituals of the sacrifices taught them that true atonement came not through burnt offerings alone, but through the heart that sincerely sought to align with the will of their Creator. Moses, wise in the ways of the Lord, soon perceived a profound truth: the essence of their covenant journey extended far beyond the desert they trod. "People of Israel," he proclaimed, his voice heavy with the spirit of revelation, "the Lord is preparing a greater truth than even we can ascertain. The blood of lambs and young bulls are but shadows of a coming sacrifice, one that will redefine our relationship with the living God." As he shared this profound insight, an electric stillness gripped the congregation. Bonds of unity shimmered brightly above their heads, kindling hope within their souls. "In time, God will send forth a deliverer, one who will bear the weight of all sin," he continued, the murmurs of the crowd softening into whispered anticipation, yet, the dread of what lay ahead was unfurling. Trials would intensify as they pressed toward Canaan, moments of anguish and glorious triumph intertwined, each step drawing them nearer to their destiny. With hearts united under Moses' leadership, they began to understand that it was never merely about reaching the promised land but about the relationship forged along the journey, the intertwined threads of their story woven into the eternal tapestry of redemption, and as time unfolded, blessed into history, a greater plan burst forth through the sorrow of their struggles. The people learned that in the wilderness, they had encountered a God who fiercely loved them, a God willing to orchestrate their pain and pleasure, leading them to an everlasting promise. Thus, through the trials of the desert, through rebellion and obedience, God remained faithful, continually assuring his chosen that his plans were far beyond what they could see. The divine echo resonated, "I shall dwell among you, for you are my people, and I am your God." As this chapter concluded, anticipation soared. The Israelites' hearts throbbed with a new understanding of their covenant, a covenant that pointed to the ultimate sacrifice, the light of the world who would one day lead them. Their journey, filled with hope, faith, and divine purpose, forged an unquenchable fire, leading them forward into the fullness of what God had promised. Now, as you ponder the transformative journey of the Israelites, let it speak to your own life. Do you desire to deepen your covenant with the Almighty? The call is clear: enter into His presence and trust His path for your life. If you found inspiration in this story, you need to subscribe now to stay connected to God's Word and witness more powerful biblical narratives. Please leave a like now to help spread God's Word through the algorithm. Comment below your reflections on this journey and how it has impacted your faith. Don't wait even one more second to share this powerful testimony with at least 5 friends who need to hear God's truth. Together, let us shine brighter as beacons of hope, drawing many unto the wondrous narrative of God's redemptive love.